So, the translations are out for My Hero Academia manga chapter 317, and let me just say this. Oh, this was a very sad and depressing chapter, mainly because of the interactions between Deku and All Might, but oh, this hurts so much in the feels, and hopefully it'll hurt in your feels too after you read this chapter. So, without the way, let's get right into the review right after this intro. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here, coming at you with another My Hero Academia review. This time reviewing manga chapter 317, titled Scars, Blood, and Mud. And let me just say, from what we see with this cover page, I think this cover page basically explains and pretty much sums up the entirety of Deku's arc right now, and basically sums up the entirety of this chapter period, because we just have this cover of Deku with his eyes. He just looks like blank, expressionless, like all the will has been literally drained from his body, as we see that his mask and his clothing is all tattered. And yeah, this is probably the best representation of this chapter because it's very dark, it's very sad, and Deku is not in a great state right now. So yeah, from when it comes to this chapter, we are mainly going to be going over a lot of stuff that happens after the explosion, particularly pertaining to the pro heroes and how they're going to be moving forward next with Deku, as well as we get to see more of Deku and All Might's interaction and their relationship in this chapter, and how it's really being pulled to the extremes for how long this relationship is going to last. And before we get more into the review, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't done so, to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Big Blue Drew 97 if you like this type of content, reviews, discussions, spoilers. I try to do all of them, so if that's something that you're interested in, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more and hit that notification bell. And without the way, let's go more into the chapter proper. So, when it comes to the first part of this chapter, we basically just get the pro heroes that were at that mansion explosion, basically talking about what their next step is going to be. We do not get a full explanation for how these heroes were able to escape the explosion. All we get is that, oh, they narrowly escaped. But, I mean, when it comes to the pro heroes, I mean, it would have been great to actually see them escape that explosion, either through a flashback or just literally seeing them do it, because realistically speaking, it makes sense for the heroes that are here to escape the explosion. I mean, Endeavor has the ability to control fire. Best Genius, we've seen that he was able to pull multiple people out of the range of All For One's explosive air burst quirk when they first fought. Edshot can go really thin and move very fast. Kamui Woods is basically Spider-Man, and he can swing himself out of there. And even Mountain Lady, who's big, could probably jettison herself out of the building before the explosion. They all have capabilities of doing it. It just would have been more interesting to see it. Oh, as well as Deku being the main character. But yeah, we don't get a full explanation of that, but we do get more of an understanding of what's going on in the situation and what they're needing to look for in the future. Actually, I think that we do see that they are burn scuffs on them, but that's really pretty much it. So yeah, we have Hawks basically talking about how they have no information that they can get from Lady Nagant when Edshot brings it up. And then we have Kamui Wiz chiming in about how they're being overwhelmed with all of this and how they're still struggling, and how when it comes to a character like Lady Nagant, even at the brink of death, people are still willing to survive, which that could be the explanation for why Lady Nagant is still alive, because we have Hawks who talks about how, yeah, Lady Nagant's alive, we can't really get a lot of information from her, but that's mainly because it's even a miracle that she's alive. So it could be the explanation that when you're on the brink of death, that you still try to strive to be alive, which, now that I think about it, that actually makes sense. For even though an explosion didn't kill her, she was still able to come back from the brink of death, because we've actually seen that happen through Shigaraki. So that's actually a cool explanation for why Lady Nagant is actually still alive. I just thought about that right now. So yeah, I'm actually okay with that. And then from there, we basically go over to Edgehout, who basically is talking to Endeavor and saying, hey, Endeavor, I think it's about time we take that gamble and tell all of the heroes and the police about a one-for-all secret. And by doing so, we're able to build like a greater network to gain a little bit more information about where All for One is, as well as Shigaraki, which, weirdly enough, Endeavor doesn't chime in, but Mount Lady chimes in, and what is very interesting about this is that we see Mount Lady has a scar over her, I think it's a left eye? Yeah, her left eye. So she has been permanently scarred. Sad, but she still looks damn fine. And then you have Mount Lady, who's basically chiming in about how the situation's really dire. She doesn't want to put that burden on Midoriya because they don't really have a whole lot of information, and they don't want to basically like exhaust Deku as their only hope, as we also have Endeavor bringing up something that is very impactful, and it's that Death Arms has retired. Yes, this Death Arms has retired, and this is very sad and very impactful because this is a character that we haven't seen like a whole lot. We sort of kind of know their character, but we've seen them frequently enough, like how we've seen Mount Lady, how we've seen Kamui Woods. He's one of the very few heroes that we were introduced to. We saw him during the Spurs Festival. We even saw him during the Paranormal Liberation Front War arc, where he was the first one to expose Slide and Go as being a secret agent. He was there on the front lines, and they say that he was like the person that they thought that had the most determination and the most grit, but even he was able to give up, because to sum up what is happening to him in like the semi-flashback, he's taking off his piece by piece of his hero costume, as he basically says in like just the basic term of it that he's tired. He thought that he could be a hero, but he can't, and that he's only just a man, as we see him leaving as he has retired for being a hero. And this is very sad because they really looked up to him and they thought that he could do it, but even he could not like withstand like the burdens of hero society. He brings up an interesting comment about how you could have 10 positive people praising you, but that one negative comment weighs on you the most, and it's always the loudest. Wow, I wonder where that comes from. But yeah, even he was unable to like really withstand that pressure, even though he was the first one to go into trying to stop the Paranormal Liberation Front. So they basically come to a conclusion that, yeah, we can't really tell everyone about One for All because the information will and has been leaked by retired heroes, and the more heroes that know, the more chance that one of them is going to retire, leak it to the public. And if they do that, the chaos of this world, everything about the nature of One for All of that negativity, all of that burden will be placed on Deku. So yeah, the reason why they can't really tell any more pro heroes is because they can't put that burden on Deku anymore, because people are going to, and probably have, begin to blame him for everything that is going on. And then from here, we get towards like the end of this conversation between all of the pro heroes, with Mount Lady basically bringing up the idea for why All for One hasn't told the public about it. Because if this would put a bigger burden on Deku, she may be thinking like, well, wouldn't that just be easier to capture him? Where you have Endeavor basically saying that, well, we really don't know. He probably has his own like reasons for not telling the world, but most likely if he did, it would mean that we would make sure that Deku would be kept secret and hidden, meaning that he wouldn't be able to get easier access to him. So that's a possibility, but we just don't know, as we have Endeavor basically saying this, and how unless Deku moves, they will not be able to get any clues about where All for One is, because All for One is chasing after Deku, sending villains after Deku, and if they were to get their hands on these villains, they could possibly get more information. As the conversation basically ends by Endeavor's phone going off, and Shoto is calling him and trying to get in contact with his father, because if you remember correctly, they promised each other that they would help to stop Toya, but unfortunately Endeavor isn't ready to do that yet, because he now has to worry about protecting Deku, but he's still thinking about it, which is great. So yeah. But you also have this funny scene of a phone going off, Endeavor thinking that it's his phone. He's looking at it intensely, but then Hawks chimes in and is like, no, it's my phone. Also, it's a message from All Might. Apparently another assassin was sent after Deku, and Deku immediately took him down, as we see this one panel of Deku just carrying the body of the injured villain in his black whip, showing that he defeated him immediately. We don't get to see it, but we also get to see this close-up of Deku's eye as he basically is telling All Might that, yeah, he had no information whatsoever. He may be someone else rigged to explode, so be careful, as he begins to leave All Might. And from here, this is where we get probably the most sad and depressing part of the chapter, as you have All Might screaming at Deku to wait, as All Might is trying to once again give Deku a bento by saying, you haven't eaten at all, just being a good father figure. And then you have Deku saying, All Might, I don't need you to follow me anymore. As we have just this realization where he's like saying, I'm fine, as he's remembering what All For One said to him, and how he's like, I can be on my own, as you just get this montage of Deku and All Might. Basically, All Might is coming to this realization that, oh, I know why you're doing this, as he's trying to say, don't say that, but Deku is once again confirming to All Might that, no, I can literally do this on my own. I can reach 100% of my power without sustaining any damage to my body, just like you did. Not necessarily, it's more like he can go like a fake or faux 100%, which is similar to All Might, so he can't really go 100%, but he can go at least 100% equivalent to All Might. But he's telling him, if I can do that, I can be fine, I can be okay, everything's fine. As once again, like I said, we see this montage of everything that they've gone through, everything that like has affected them over the years, and how they share this bond, and how All Might is basically realizing that, hey, maybe I should have done this, maybe I should have done that. I understand what this kid is going through, but I made a promise that I would protect him. As you just have this one panel of Deku looking over to All Might as he's remembering about how Deku no longer looks back at him, as he says, don't worry about me, with this sad expression in his eyes that we haven't seen from Deku in a while, as he leaves All Might, as All Might is trying to tell him to wait, as he says that he wants to protect him, but he hits the ground. The bento spreads over the floor as he's thinking about what he could have said in this moment, how all of this responsibility was placed on Deku, and how he could have asked him to do this, he could have asked him to do that, but doesn't, as Deku flies away. It's just a sad, emotional moment, and it's only punctuated by the fact that All Might is on the ground crying in the rain. So yeah, nothing can ruin this moment. It's so sad, it's so depressing, and it's so... Wait 1 minute, who is that in the shadows behind the building? Oh my gosh, it's Stain. So Stain is back, and he has a new look, and it's not bad. It's not the Stain look that I thought. He looks actually well dressed in this, but yeah, Stain overheard the entire conversation. I don't know where that could possibly go. Maybe he doesn't view All Might as a hero anymore and probably gonna kill him. Maybe he's gonna go after Deku, or maybe he's going to help in some way. We just don't know. So yeah, after Stain basically hears that entire conversation, we actually get towards the end of this chapter, where we just get a few dialogue boxes of just random citizens basically talking about rumors about a specific individual, most likely Deku, about how this person, specifically Deku, just appears out of nowhere, not making a sound, and how apparently this person has multiple quirks, and people are thinking, oh, is it All For One? Is it a Nomu? As someone says, no, he just helps people, but apparently he's covered in scars, blood, and mud. And punctuating that with the end of this chapter, with the final panel, the final image of that person, whoever is saying, yeah, but he doesn't look anything like a hero, as we get an image of Deku just looking boss, just looking horrifying. Like, it's terrifying how cool Deku looks in this moment as we end the chapter. And all I can say is this: oh, this is gonna be depressing. Oh, this is gonna be sad, but it's going to be so good at the end of this. So yeah, that's basically the end of this chapter. We got a lot in this chapter. We got a lot of information from the pro heroes talking about the situation, the reveal that Death Arms has retired as a hero, which is very impactful to the characters, specifically Mount Lady, who's good friends with him, showing that even those who like may embody like the truest spirit of the hero can still succumb to the criticism of overwhelming negativity, which is sad, but it's actually just true in this world, not just in their world, but in our world as well. As well as we just get a little bit more information about where they're going, just the potential plans that they may be coming up with, and how, for the most part, they're the only pro heroes that are going to know about One for All and All for One's interactions, specifically involving Deku. We also get the reveal and the sad truth that the relationship between Deku and All Might has, for the most part, not come to an end, but it has been like stretched to like the extreme, where Deku can't allow All Might, who can't really fight anymore, to continue to follow him. So now he's going to go solo, and unfortunately, we also have STONE overhearing that entire sad monologue, story, conversation. So yeah, since STONE has heard that conversation, there's a few ways that can go. He could either be working with All for One to try and capture and kill Deku, or he could maybe potentially work with All Might as well as Deku to try to stop All for One. So there's mainly two sides to it. Me personally, I think that because STONE just looked up to All Might so much that it wouldn't make sense for him to immediately switch on a dime. So I think that he may confront Deku. Deku may think, oh, you're someone that All for One sent to capture me. I'll defeat you quicker this time. And STONE's like, no. I'm actually here to help. I do know information and I want to convey it to you. So that's potentially where that could be leading to, as well as just seeing how society may be viewing heroes in a different light, where they see Deku, and because he doesn't look like a hero, people don't perceive him as a hero. Could potentially be perceived as a vigilante, but that it doesn't really matter what he looks like. He's still willing to help people, even though he's covered in the scars and the blood and the mud. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting seeing the story moving forward, especially if this is what Deku is going to be looking like, which, to be honest, it's terrifying. Like, I never thought that there would be a moment where I look at Deku and just think to myself, that kid is terrifying. So yeah, potentially what's going to be going on next in the story is that we could once again be following Deku, fighting off another assassin from the heroes. We may get even more involvement with Deku. We may even get the continuation of what we saw with STONE next chapter, with STONE talking to All Might and confronting Deku next chapter. That is something that is very potential to happen. Or we could once again, hopefully, finally cut back to the academia portion of My Hero Academia. See what the other students are doing, seeing how they're coping with the situation, realizing that Deku is in pain and trying to help him the best of their ability, as well as, you know, Shinzo being involved. So yeah, that's potentially what's going to be going on next chapter. That's just my thoughts. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to really say about this chapter. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you liked this review. Leave your thoughts down in the comments down below of what you thought about this chapter. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Did you think that it was a happy ending, or did you think that it was so depressing? Leave your thoughts down in the comments down below, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to be notified for whenever I upload more My Hero Academia content. So do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in the next video. Goodbye!